Hey guys, what is up? We're doing a special edition of the Guilty as Charged podcast, just me and Tyler. This was a request from a few people. I had not seen Draft Day until recently. So a lot of people messaged me, how can you, like, what is going on? How can you not have watched this? And so we're going to have a chat about it. But first and foremost, Tyler, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing just fine. I can't wait to talk about this.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So just for a little background for those who are interested in this, I did serve an LDS church mission in Mexico. It's a 2-year mission. You don't get to watch movies. You don't get to watch TV. You don't get to listen to music. You're only dedicated to, preaching the gospel and living like a missionary. And so Draft Day came out while I was on my mission. Like I was maybe like 6 or 7 months in. And when I got home, I was like, oh, like this movie, it's about the draft. Like, how cool is that? Like, it's got Kevin Costner and all these people, right? But everybody I talked to was like, no, don't watch it. It's not very good. And so that's just kind of why I didn't choose to watch it. And then, recently our friend Ryan Dyberd was like, dude, you got to watch it. Some people watch it every day for a whole week leading up to the draft. So I decided to give it a shot. Me and my wife, we watched it on Monday. We rented it on Xfinity. And so I have now watched the movie, and Tyler and I are going to discuss it now. So Tyler, how do you want to start this
what did you think? I've seen the movie before. So this to me, like it's funny. I've seen it before, and then leading up to even being asked to watch it, I was watching clips of it. It happened to come up for some reason. I don't know if YouTube just knew we were getting closer to the draft or what, but suddenly I went down that rabbit hole of where you get 10 different clips, like 5 minutes at a time with all the moments from a movie. So I watched Draft Day in clips already, and then I watched it for this, and I'm very excited to hear what you think of Draft Day.
So I think the right place for me to start this is, I had not watched a movie with Chadwick Boseman since he passed. And I had forgotten that he was in it. And so that really it hit a nerve for a little bit. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this guy, I didn't know he was in this. And then secondly, when it comes to him, his character was so bad. He had brass knuckles on his phone case. I was like, what is this? And then, they're showing highlights of him, and it's clearly not him. Like this huge dude with these shoulder pads from the 90s and these helmet from the 90s. And I'm like, come on. Like, could we not have given our guy Chadwick Boseman some like actual football footage? So that's kind of where I wanted to start it. And I think, Chadwick, rest in peace, man. I think that was such a big aspect of, he was in 42 and he was in all these things, and obviously the Marvel thing, which I love the Black Panther movie and Marvel in general. So definitely wanted to start it there. But this in general, this is one of those movies that it pays like 80% of the budget goes towards the cast. And so you have Jennifer Garner, and you have all these guys, the dude from Prison Break, and you have Diddy as an agent, and Terry Crews, and so all the money went towards the cast. And that unfortunately led to some very poor writing and other kind of decisions, like Chadwick Boseman's wardrobe. But the cast, it kind of carries the weight, right? Like Kevin Costner is really good in it. I think his character is well done. So it was entertaining. I had fun, really good idea, but it just left me like wanting a little more. It left some meat on the bone. I thought that had they trimmed down the cast, spend some more money on the writing aspect of things, it could have been a very much improved movie, but it was entertaining overall.
Yeah, the first thing about Chadwick Boseman, the movie before this that I watched with him in it was Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, where he was nominated for an Oscar. He was projected to win. He did not, but he at that point was very, very skinny. Had the cancer had progressed to a certain amount. So to go back and watch this, where I don't know if he put on weight, but he certainly looks big. Like he's supposed to be an NFL or college prospect. So he looks so much bigger in this one. I watched with my girlfriend, and we were both just like, oh my gosh, look at the difference between him, the movie we just watched and Draft Day. So obviously a real shame. The writing on this movie is freaking great. So the whole point of a character introduction in a movie, right? You want them to have like Kevin Costner, main character. He's the guy you're following through the entire movie, and you want him to be like the guy that you root for. And the first quote they give him, he goes down, he's making breakfast or whatever, watching TV, and his first line for your protagonist of this movie is, "You look nice." And that's just, that is the writing that we're dealing with here. I wrote down other quotes that were my favorites. I have 52 Tarzans. I need a Jane. What does that mean? I have no idea what that even means. Like, I almost get it if you mean like you have 52 Janes, you need a Tarzan.
Yeah.
What does the opposite mean?
Right.
I have another one. People pay to get wet. Not really sure what we're going with for that one. But my favorite, let's see, what else? When the sister is announced as dead, because Chadwick Boseman's character's sister died. Coach goes, "Boo freaking who?" So that's a really great comment there. My favorite one is the reason I wrote all this. I took so many notes. The reason that the head coach does not want a rookie quarterback is because he hates rookie quarterbacks because they're stupid, and he has to coach them up and teach them things like protections. Like, you're a coach, you idiot. Like, what are you going to do? Like, coach veterans the rest of your life? Like, oh, I hate rookie quarterbacks because they're stupid. I have to teach them things like protections. I'm like, come on, dude, you're the coach.
The coach's character, man, was so annoying, and I don't know who that actor is. I know he's been in a bunch of things, but like going into the office and like burning up the playbook and like, I don't know, the coach's character, like, I know they like try to paint him out as like the villain, but he was just corny, man. And like the boo freaking who thing, I'm like, okay, we just heard that this prospect's sister died. Like, okay. I think my biggest complaint in terms of like the cast and the writing is the way that they use Jennifer Garner. Like, it's so stereotypical of like the only woman in the office is sleeping with the biggest, most important player or person 100%. In the office. And like, you hear her talking to the coach and she's like, "I've dedicated my life to this." And then that's the only thing you get in terms of like her backstory, her character, or anything. Everything else is just like, oh, she's pregnant. Oh, she's sleeping with the boss. And like, it was like, can Jennifer Garner like get a line? And then, every single 5 minutes, they're off into the closet with these weird conversations. And I'm just like, so the way that the Jennifer Garner was used and the way her character was used, I think to me is like my biggest complaint outside of like the writing, because like it would have been better to not have Jennifer Garner at all. Like, her character was so unnecessary. And then it ends with like, "Oh, mom, who I hate, she's pregnant." And it was like, what? Like, this makes no sense to me at all. Like, why choose Jennifer Garner to be such a minuscule part of the movie? If you're going to have a woman who's dating the main character, like, pay a cheap actress who's hot. Like, you don't need Jennifer Garner to come in and play this tiny role.
Yeah, and the intention was very clear. Jennifer Garner is 17 years younger than Kevin Costner. It was already just kind of like that's your daughter, kind of like. And then like they start like her character introduction is her in the shower, and they just show like her back, and it's like, oh, here we go, And then the coach sits down and talks to her, and he says, how does a girl like you get into this game? Like, man, this thing post Me Too would have gotten flamed, like the playbook that they burnt. I mean, it was certainly very bad, and just. Like having to watch Jennifer Garner and Kevin Costner kiss at the end, where they're just like it's so disgusting. My girlfriend kept pointing out his neck being gross. It was so gross. I couldn't watch it. Like Jennifer Garner is very attractive and Kevin Costner's not, and certainly not when he's like 66 now and she's like 49 or something. So it's just the whole thing was just super gross. They clearly had only one intention for her, and wasn't a fan. This is clearly for the egg-headed football fans that watch the movie.
Absolutely. But like, that's the other thing too, is like Jennifer Garner's pretty, but like if you're wanting to appeal to the eggheads, like, again, you could have just gotten a hot no-name actress for cheaper and just had her,
true.
And then like the other thing, it was like, oh, here's my ex-wife, and then the ex-wife disappeared. Like that, like whole thing, there were so many other storylines that were just like, okay, here's this random story, here's this random person, like the gymnastics scene with Chadwick Boseman's character goes to see his nephews do gymnastics. It's like, okay, why is this? What is the point
Yeah.
of this? Like, so it was just a lot of
Right.
like jumping around to storylines that like just didn't make any sense. And you look at Terry Crews's character. Is Terry Crews an agent or is Terry Crews the guy's dad? And why is Arian
Hmm.
Foster, who was about to retire at the time, supposed to play a 19-year-old kid who's about to enter the draft? So it was just a lot of weird decisions in terms of writing and in terms of characters and building up those characters.
Somebody did reference the gymnastics tumbling part of this, so I figured I might as well impart my wisdom because while I don't know anything about college or NFL football, I know about gymnastics. So I'll tell you this, kids. Fonte Max kids have terrible form when it comes to their cartwheels. And if his son is doing X cartwheels at that age, he is way, way behind. And then the kids in the background of a different shot are doing forward rolls and using their hands to stand up. That is improper form. So that was terrible coaching on the part of whoever is training them. There's my 2 cents on the gymnastics part. Carry on.
Love it, man. Thank you. So let's get to the actual like story, right? Because the story
Yes.
behind like the idea behind it, I think is so interesting. And as people who love the draft, like having, a
Mm-hmm.
movie about these kind of decisions is so interesting, right? And so the way
Yeah.
that it goes through from like the Seattle Seahawks guy, like he wants the quarterback, but he also wants the picks. And so he calls
Mm-hmm.
the Browns guy who is like the most desperate, right? And then you see the owner
Yeah.
telling the Browns guy, like, hey, you need to make a splash today or you're fired. So, like, that whole
Mm-hmm.
thing, that whole process was very interesting. And I like the way that they did all of
Yeah.
that, setting up the whole thing. And then, kind of like after the fact, I made this joke on Twitter about the 49ers, right? Like, they traded all these picks to theoretically go draft Mac Jones. And then it was like, oh shit, like,
Yeah.
there are other players that we're considering. And so I texted
Yeah.
you and I was like, man, Kyle Shanahan thinks he's slick copying the plot of Draft Day. It was just kind of a really funny alignment between the movie and like what's happening right now.
Yeah, no, it's such a strange thing to watch them, give. I can't look. I can't imagine that NFL teams actually operate anything quite like this.
Yeah.
Ownership pressure totally makes sense. Making stupid trades totally makes sense. But waking up the day of trading for number one and then going, I think we should watch tape on him. And then they go to watch tape on him, and then the intern can't even find the tape. So
Yeah.
they're like after like calling the intern a moron. They're like, "Where's the tape? Like, we need tape on this guy. Like, you don't even have tape ready for the best quarterback prospect you supposedly have ever seen.
Yeah.
You don't even have tape like ready. I could fire up tape right now in 2 minutes and have that screen shared right now. And this NFL organization doesn't even have tape on the guy. So, yeah, but is fascinating that the Niners, who right now go reportedly go to 3 and then go, Trey Lance isn't that bad.
This other guy.
Like, you know what? I think like I said it on Twitter, like it's like the Chargers trading up for Jake Fromm and going, maybe we should watch Herbert and Tua Tagovailoa. Like, I think there's something there.
Yeah.
What is the plot? Like, I don't understand. But then the Niners are apparently doing that. So maybe that's a thing. I don't know. We'll certainly find out. The draft, it's 6:00 right now, Pacific. So we will probably find out in 24 hours what the Niners are actually doing. So I can't wait to see what they do.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be super exciting. The way that they handled the draft day too was honestly like hilarious. Like the GM of this football team is sitting in his office and everybody else is in the war room, like waiting for the pick. And then he just comes in and he's like,
Yeah.
Vontae Mack. And then he just bounced. Like he didn't want to stick around. He was like, all right, I'm done. I made my first pick.
Yeah.
And then, he's back with Jennifer Garner and about to make out or whatever. And then it's like, wait,
Yeah.
Bo Callahan is falling. Like, just so interesting.
Yeah.
And then he goes and he trades 3 second-round picks to then trade back for his first-round picks and get a running back. Like, the whole draft process, and I hate to say this, but like, it's so stereotypical of Cleveland. Like, just no organization at all, or at least the past, right? Like, no organization, no plan. We're going to trade all of our picks for this defensive end and then get the first round picks back and then take a running back. Like, so stereotypical of Cleveland.
Yeah. it's funny. So the first trade that goes down, I did run the numbers on the draft chart because of course I did. And the first trade is like, okay, like the Browns do lose that trade because they give up so much, but you're going to 1. And if it was for Trevor Lawrence and you give up 2 firsts to go from 7 to 1 for Trevor Lawrence, like that kind of makes sense to me. The idea that Trevor Lawrence would then continue to fall to like 6,
Yeah.
unlikely. Like if the Jets would take him at 2, if the Jaguars didn't pick him at 1, and if he didn't go at 1 or 2, he'd go at 3. Like the fact that he would go all the way to 6, and the people are taking like a corner at 5 or whatever, like that's definitely not going to happen. The last trade is my favorite because first of all, the Seahawks could have completely just said no, and then or not. Yeah, the Seahawks could have totally said
Seahawks,
no.
yeah.
The Browns definitely weren't taking Callahan, and then they could have just taken him. It would have been the end of the movie. Roll credits. Hey, like I want my picks back. No, click. Movie's over, and they take Bo Callahan because the dude's taking the running back anyway. But the fun part about that trade is they give up so they in return those first round picks to move up 1 spot in the draft, which means the Seahawks lose value of 2,150 points on the draft value chart, which is basically worth the 3rd overall pick in the draft anyway. So it was just kind of fun to watch them go from like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Well, okay, kind of that makes sense, and then just get completely trashed on that final trade. Yeah, what a series of events for sure.
Which is also very stereotypical of the Seattle Seahawks, who do not know how to draft at all. So the one thing this movie got right is like the way that they conveyed the teams. Even the Jaguars, right? Like, oh, it's a first-time general manager. Like, oh, he's so stressed out, and like they call him on the phone, and the dude's like, like looks like he's on cocaine, just like cannot get a grip of himself. And then as soon as like, oh, I can get 3 second-round picks. Ooh, I could look smart. And then the whole mood changes of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, I'm smart. I know what I'm doing. And so, like, the way that they conveyed the football teams was so funny. It was so cheesy, so corny.
Yeah.
But that really to me was like the best part of the movie. The way that whole thing went down and the way that they conveyed these teams in the process of, going through this draft of the first 7 picks, that to me was the best part of the movie.
Yeah. And then, there is some chaos, there is some excitement in real life. So I suppose like, these calls, these last minute trades, all this pressure, like maybe that's legit. My question to you, Steven, is are you a pancake eating motherfucker?
So many cheesy, corny one-liners in this movie. That is my favorite one by far, because you're a pancake eating motherfucker. Like, so funny. The other thing that we have to address, dude, the birthday party. Like, literally, like I was I'm sitting there watching this and going, this is what's happening to Justin Fields. Like, this is exactly what is happening. Somebody found out that he had a birthday party or whatever. So again, just like the corniest thing of like them finding out a way to not draft this Bo Callahan dude is the fact that his teammates did not go to his birthday party. So funny, so cheesy, but you just gotta love stuff like that.
I didn't realize how many quotes from Twitter have come from this movie. People talking about,
me neither.
Did he find the $100 bill? Pancake eating motherfucker. Like, I haven't watched this in a long time. What else? Did they go to his birthday party? Fonte Mac, no matter what. Now it's like, play or whatever, no matter what. I can't believe how many quotes came from this particular movie. But yeah, I wouldn't. Okay, so I don't care that if there was a prospect and no one went to his birthday party, I wouldn't care. I might care that he didn't remember anything that happened at his 21st birthday party, because that means he got drunk. So like, okay, that's interesting. The $100 bill one is kind of, I don't know, like smart. that's kind of seems legit. Yeah, like I legitimately think teams could do that, and I wonder if someone ever stole that idea or whatever. But I would lie, like if I didn't read it, and I'd be like, yeah, it fell out or something. It never was there. How can you guarantee that there's like, maybe they taped it? Things come untaped, and maybe it fell. So I don't know. The whole thing was interesting. They certainly made that quarterback character Bo Callahan look like a jerk, like a stereotypical whatever. He's like, they calls him, he's like, does winning mean everything to you? And Bo Callahan's like, excuse me, like what? And they call him later, and he's like, do people go to your birthday party? He's like, what? Like they just make you hate this poor quarterback, and you know, just finding these really stupid ways to hate insert Justin Fields here. So yeah.
Yep. So the $100 bill thing, I haven't heard of many teams doing something like that. But I
Mhm.
know the Raiders were testing Jamarcus Russell, and they would give
Oh
him
no.
tapes, and then like they would give him like a blank tape or whatever, and
Mm,
ask him if he watched it, and he was like, yeah, well, there was this and this on it. And then they're like, oh, you
yeah.
did not watch this tape. So I know that is like a verified story that has happened.
Hmm.
But yeah, the $100 bill thing, that's an interesting one. And then another corny one liner, you know who did send the $100 back?
Yeah.
I forget the actual Browns quarterback name in the thing, but it was
Yeah.
like this guy. And then it was like, you just see the
Oh
wheels
my
turning. It
god.
was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, like, okay, like we're going to stick with this guy, and we're going to take this defensive end. And
Yeah.
the entire time I'm sitting there going, they're going to take Vontae Mack. Like, I had not seen the movie. I didn't know this was the outcome. I'm just sitting there going, they're not taking this quarterback. They're going to take the defensive end, and
Yeah.
then shit's going to get crazy. I didn't know how crazy that was going to get, trading all your second rounders and then getting your first rounders back. So it was a crazy ride,
Yeah.
but very predictable outcome by taking Vontae Mack. And then I just kind of love the fact that they threw in a punt returner as like the saving, like the final piece of the trade puzzle is this punt returner.
Yeah.
Like, the Chargers fan in me is like, I appreciate the fact that special teams got mentioned here.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, what do we need? A punt returner. And this triumphant music starts playing. And they're
Yeah.
like, freaking Putney. Man. Like, give me the punt returner.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, Putney.
Yeah.
We did it. But yeah, I wanted to point one thing about the running back out. Ray Jennings supposedly had 2159 total yards and 22 touchdowns. Number 2 player, was it Mike Mayock that was on the TV
Yeah,
saying
Mike
that?
Mayock
I
was
think
in
it was
it, yeah.
Mike Mayock. So it was the number 2 player on Mike Mayock's board. Just for reference, Najee Harris has 1,900 total yards and 30 touchdowns this year, and I don't think he's number 2 on his board. But it's not surprising to me that Mike Mayock likes Ray Jennings that much to put him number 2 on his board. And of course, I think he was part of the draft that took Josh Jacobs. No.
Yeah, that would be hilarious, man. You get Josh Jacobs, you sign Kenyon Drake, and you draft Najee Harris just for the hell of it. That would be hilarious. So yeah, overall, I think the movie was entertaining. It was definitely a fun thing to check out and understand all the references. But like people who watch it religiously, I don't understand you. I go spend your time more wisely. Like to me, I watched it once and I'm good. I'll probably never watch it again. But I'm glad that I did,
Yeah.
and now I can understand all the references. But it's one of those movies, like I said, all the money went towards the cast. Should have spent some more money on the writing and production of the movie, and it would have been way better. But entertaining movie overall. Definitely had some good parts, and I thought the idea very interesting. Had a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah, I certainly think that, like, I would, if they made another one, I would watch it. Like, I didn't like this movie, but if they made another one and it was about, who sucks now, still the Jaguars.
Yeah, they could do the Jaguars.
If they made it about the Jaguars, I would totally watch it about how the GM has developed and what's going on. Yeah, so it was fun to watch. Rewatch it again. I got a kick out of it because it was kind of terrible. The last thing I'll say is that the triumphant music plays, and I have 2 more things to say. Sorry.
You're good.
The triumphant music plays at the end of the movie, and they're all running out of the tunnel, and it's all their new draft picks. Yeah. This movie was released in 2014, and after all that triumphant heroism and whatnot, the Browns went 7-9 that season. So it's not like they did very good after that year anyway. So, other thing I wanted to point out is that I was just curious because I'm doing the draft, the value chart and whatever. So the second rounders that they gave up, one of their second rounders was the 32nd overall pick, because that pick was originally going to the Patriots and they lost it to Deflategate. So there's like a little bit of random history sprinkled throughout this movie.
Interesting. Yeah, I think there was definitely some aspects of it that were inspired by true events. Like we were talking about, just kind of in general, the way that the teams went about their business. So like I said, it was a fun movie. It definitely could have been way better if they would have tweaked some things. but had a good time. And when you are listening to this, it will be the actual draft day. So cannot wait for this huge day for the Chargers and obviously everybody involved. Cannot wait to see who the 49ers pick, and so ready for that storyline to be done. ESPN has not stopped talking about it for like the last 3 months. So happy draft day, first of all. And hopefully Tom Telesco has learned his lesson and is not like the Browns general manager and takes an offensive tackle at 13. Tyler, any thoughts before we wrap up today?
Just talking or following up with that, I'm smiling right now. I'm totally happy. If in about 25 hours they don't take an offensive tackle, I'm not going to be very happy on a live stream.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a crazy experience. Happy to be able to share this fun special episode with you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And again, stay tuned for the live stream. We'll be going live about 4:30 before the draft at 7:30 Eastern for those on the East Coast. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys later.
Bye, guys.